Hey, you're listening to Fat and Greasy Citizens, a podcast about Shakespeare. I'm Fat.
And I'm Greasy. Every week we do a deep dive into every act of every Shakespeare play ever written, mostly while drinking.
More specifically, I'm Chuck. I'm a former English major and now a digital editor who cares a lot about Shakespeare.
And I'm Gabe. Let's do it!
Hello, subjects. It is we, Queen Elizabeth I. Have we been inconsistent with using the royal we? Hush your mouth, Bay. In this episode, we bring you Two Gentlemen of Verona, Act 1, in which Proteus reveals he is love-struck for local idiot Julia, and he writes a letter to her. Trust Shakespeare to write edge-of-your-seat action like this. Enjoy.
Basically because I'm not willing to go out and get more olives.
That is the sloth is the mother of invention, as
it is. Yeah, that's what they say. They, I of course went right out and signed up for that Broadway.
Oh yeah,
app. And I started watching Shrew, and it's got John Cleese. John Cleese is Petruchio in it.
Really?
And he's actually the opening scene between him and Grumio is great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in fact, the annoying bits of it, like what I didn't kind of understand in reading it off the page was just like what if they just fucking hate each other all the time anyway, you know? And that's what it is. Like John Cleese
and John Cleese can do that so well. His contempt for someone is just
it's almost a direct ripoff of Fawlty Towers, Basil Fawlty and Manuel, the servant. It's basically the same thing. It's abusive. Like there's physical abuse.
Yeah.
At one point, like there's this great throwaway moment where he goes up to Grumio, and as he's talking to Hortensio, he just kind of like idly smacks Grumio, like as he's turning around with Hortensio, he just fucking open hand slaps him, and it's a great it's so perfectly hidden. Like, it's just really it's awesome. Like it made so much more sense watching a master.
Yeah, and I feel like English people think lower classes are lower classes for a reason, and so you can find a way to like not have it like if the actor has that built into their sensibility where it's just like there's nothing wrong with slapping these people. This is what they are. I get it. I know this guy. He's slappable. Don't worry.
And there's great, like the the moment where we talked about with that great moment where Petruchio is like, have I not seen great wars? Have I not? Like John Cleese is so perfect for that kind of like, how dare you? kind of like do you know who you're talking to right now? That kind of thing. Have I not done these things? And then meanwhile, Grumio is in the background mugging a little bit, kind of like,
And does it come across as absolute horseshit?
It comes across as, well, what Petruchio is, which is a bully. It's a guy. It's basically a bully saying, I've done a lot of shit. Have you? And like the other person going, oh yes, of course. That kind of thing. It's like, it's perfectly done. It was really, I was so delighted to see that it was him. Like it just really solid. I haven't even finished it yet. I'm going to finish it tonight. It's really good.
That sounds fantastic.
Worth it.
The two guys from Bologna.
They are. It's interesting. Like as much as the last, looking at Shrew seemed like an indictment of marriages to me, anyway. This one seems like This seems like an indictment of romantic love, like the idea of romantic love from the very beginning. This kind of, you're an idiot to think that romantic love is a thing,
Or it's at the very least practiced by idiots in this.
Mm-hmm.
I like the dynamic here that I like is that I respect all the servants and all the royals are just morons.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
They're like reprehensible people, just like dumb as bricks.
Literally from the beginning, I think so we're 2 plays in, but my favorite first line is Valentine just says to Proteus, "Cease to persuade." And you could yell that at Proteus at any point in the play. It's just like, stop trying to convince me. I don't care that you love this woman. Let me leave, pay me, or just shut up is all anyone says to him throughout this. But cease to persuade just like sums that up. Just like, that's great. You like this girl. Okay.
He's insufferable.
Why?
And actually, I think that
go.
I think that Shakespeare actually might have predicted the age of the incel movement. Like Proteus is like an incel, like he's the king of incel. Like it's all
Proteus is on his this is to date us, but he is on his 9th unshared mixtape. And it's just like you gotta give her one of these mixtapes, man. Or just talk to her. Talking to her would be better. But you've got to stop making mixtapes with The Cure and 9 Inch Nails on them.
Yeah, and seriously, don't end with More Than Words by Extreme.
Or do. If that's what you get action, that Extreme would be so much better than making one more mixtape. You must cease, you god-awful, you awful, awful royal person.
The label of this tape actually has my tears on it.
If you look at the first letter of each song, it's a special message, and
that's how I would play it the whole way out too. Is Proteus just kind of sounds like, "Hey guys, Julia."
He's the teenager from The Simpsons.
Yes, he's Jesus.
I've just been
Jeez, Mr. Simpson.
What'd she say? Give me my money. What'd she say?
But like as you say, like right. What I like about it though is that as much as people or like as much as Valentine in the very beginning. Also, I love the irony of having Valentine being the guy railing against romantic love, being his name Valentine. We get it, Shakespeare. Very clever. but I do like how Proteus is kind of onto it from the very beginning. Like he has a line that says, "So by your circumstance, you call me fool." That like immediately he's like, "Okay, right, okay, so I'm an idiot for being in love," right?
Yeah.
Like he starts from a place of angst, a very angsty place.
Yeah, and I found I have to read comedies twice to wrap my head around them, but I found them on second read that like I don't know, I just kind of like that, like it seems plain that like these two guys are morons. Their servants are kind of like fun people who make fun of them somewhat, but it seems like low stakes, and I'm just kind of happy to have these two people be morons or whatnot. It works okay. When Valentine is literally trying to walk out the door, Proteus is like, "I can't come with you, but if you get into any trouble, think on me and know that I'm praying for you. If you see something pretty, think of me and know I wish I was there. It's just like, just let me fucking walk out, man. You're not coming. I asked you to come, and you're not coming. That's fine, but no, I'm not doing any of these things. Shut up, man. You were invited.
And considering where this play, and considering where this play goes eventually, like you might think that Shakespeare has Proteus being, wow, that's awful grammar. You might think that Shakespeare has Proteus being almost like overly amorous toward everyone. Like his love is intense for every person.
Yeah, he seems
even Valentine.
Yeah,
even Valentine. It's like, just know that I wish I was there, and my prayers will protect you. And you're like, wait a second.
Like, imagine like you've got 3 friends, and you're like, all right, we're going to the bar tonight, and one's always like, he doesn't come, but he just sends you 200 text messages.
Right.
Like, God, no, seriously, I wish I was there. I just, I'm kind of. No one cares, man. Just, I want to stop looking at my phone. I'm at the bar now. Yeah, and I just want you to know that I miss you.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. My face keeps lighting up every 30 seconds with the light of my phone. Stop texting me.
So I think this is my failure of my intellect. But until I get better at reading and appreciating Shakespeare, I want to add an addendum to our rule about horn jokes never being funny.
Yeah, there's another one.
But I think at least for me, puns about animals are never funny. And this first act has like two different versions of just like we're gonna go back and forth about sheep and bird puns, and it's gonna be, and it's just like you didn't land any of these. Like just I like you both when you're talking about things, but when you both just do wordplay back and forth, I like the royal folks losing in the battle of puns to the servants, but in the actual puns themselves, I'm just like, stop calling each other sheep. I thought the sheep was the worst of them.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, it was nice to have that precursor to an InfoWars conversation between Speed and Proteus. This kind of like, oh, by the way, in my play version of this, Speed is definitely played by Keanu Reeves. I think that's my ultimate casting would be the Keanu Reeves as he professes to be a Shakespearean actor.
And is that super dumb Keanu or like?
Oh yeah, Bill and Ted Keanu. Yeah, okay. Bill and Ted Keanu. No, I don't want John Wick Keanu. That's
Keanu.
Yeah, no, we don't want that. But yeah, I thought that the sheep exchange was very kind of like, who's a sheep? Who's a motherfucking sheep? You know, like almost like it just gave me the InfoWars douche chills just to listen to these two guys. Like, well, if he's paying you, then you're the sheep, right? You know, it's just like, okay, all right, guys.
It's like,
all right,
no,
fellas.
He's paying me, so I'm in charge. Okay, so fine, then you're the sheep, then I'm the sheep. Well, then maybe you should have fucked that sheep.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I did. God.
Yeah, it gets like the one. What is it? I can't remember what type of sheep, but it means prostitute, right?
It's a mutton.
A mutton, right?
But I do think so. Even though I enjoy none of the jokes, I enjoy the structure of how Speed talks a lot better. He basically says, "Well, screw it, I'll just find the line." There's not that many lines with mutton in it, so I bet I can find it. Because also Proteus has the worst fucking pun of all, where he's like,
"Oh, the naughty thing."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is abysmal.
And he says it like 3 times. He's like, "Get it? Get it? Naughty." And it's just like, yeah, man.
And I was trying to visualize the joke in my head where it's like, okay, so
right,
Proteus
it doesn't work spoken out loud. It works.
No, it doesn't.
Written.
It really doesn't. Like you have to as like if I were directing it, I would have to inject a lot of like reading between the lines stuff.
You have
like
to nod so much.
You'd almost have to.
Joke.
Yeah, well, it would almost be like Proteus saying, "Okay, well, what did she say?" And then Speed be going like I would include the idea of like putting his hand out, kind of like, "Well, you have to pay me first."
Yeah.
You know. And then it becomes this thing about nod. Nobody actually says the word nod.
No.
So it's almost like
it just be like it's.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's really asking the audience to make a weird connection between a physical act and then the pun on the physical act.
The only thing that I would say like might work in that is that when there's these windows in the play where you could do whatever you want to do physically. And so it gives the actor an excuse to just like mug his way through a nod.
Oh, sure.
And then seem like Shakespeare's riffing off what the actor just did on stage. But it's just not in the text there at all. And it's just the worst pun ever. Like there's no, it comes right after so here's the line. He says, that because I don't like the pun, but I like the rhythm of it. I, sir, a lost mutton, gave your letter to her, a laced mutton, and she, a laced mutton, gave me a lost mutton, nothing for my labor. And so it's just like, I'm a piece of shit. She's a whore. The whore paid me nothing. I got nothing. I'm pissed off. And it's just like the mirror image of it on either side is really good, and it's like mixed with subtle fuck yous to him as royalty, which I enjoy. And then to follow and like naughty is like 5 sentences after that, so it's all the more just like, oh, are we punning? Well then, for a nodding pun.
And maybe that's the best way to play it, as like a royal attempting to play in the game that he is not suited to play in. You know, it's like what Billy Connolly says about Billy Connolly years ago, like in the late 80s. I remember him saying something like, like he loves like listening to like poet English guys trying to swear, you fucking bastard, that kind of like, it's just, it doesn't ring. It's not guttural enough. Like it doesn't connect on the way it should, Rosie O'Donnell, I think, also had a bit about that. Who was she working with? No, she wasn't working with her. It was there was a redheaded actress popular in the 80s.
Gina Davis?
No, smaller, like shorter and like more. I can't remember who it was, but Rosie O'Donnell had a bit about how that particular actress had a lot of trouble swearing, and would put the swear in weird places, like "I want a hot fucking dog." Like it just doesn't fit. Like it doesn't, you know. Like that's kind of what Proteus is to me. Like he just kind of is trying, but he's not base enough, or he hasn't. Well, I mean, it's evident in his character. He isn't worldly enough to get the kind of jokes that he's trying to make. You know, like he's making corny, like sexual jokes are beyond him because he hasn't seen the world. He hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Whereas I really liked that Speed where he's just like, Proteus is like, what you say, what you say, what you say, and Speed's just like, she didn't tip me, so I didn't hear shit. All right. Like,
Yeah.
You should fall in love with someone who tips, and maybe I'd give you some information, but you're not my master, so I don't really care. I'm giving you nothing. Fuck off.
That's a really great a great idea. Like you should fall in love with somebody who tips. It's really great.
Then maybe it would work out, but
Yeah,
I
I've got
enjoy
a
the
tip.
fact that like since he doesn't tip, and since he barely tips and she doesn't tip, he's just like, I don't think she likes you. He's
Right.
like, why do you think that? She doesn't tip, so I assume she sucks. And he's just like, well, can you tell me more? No, I can't. But I'm pretty sure she doesn't like you. Again, if you liked someone who tipped, then you're so malleable that I would probably advise you that she'd be in love with you. But since I don't like what I got out of this deal, I'm just going to advise you that no, it's not going to work out. You're doomed.
Yeah, and Speed, you know, I think dismiss it. Well, everything's. I guess it's why his name is Speed. Is like there's so much. Again, with that kind of Shakespearean timing in here, where like Speed's like, oh, where's my master? Oh, he just went to get in the ship. Oh, he's probably gone. He just left. He just left the scene, and all of a sudden the boat is already. I was on a boat today, and it took a while. It took a minute to get the boat into the water and gone.
I actually want to read that. When does he walk in?
He walks in.
Valentine's gone. Wait, he's exit.
Yeah, Proteus.
He exit. Proteus says like 40 words, and he's like, "Where is he? He's gone." Well, I must have missed him. No, you can get him. No, I better call it a day.
He just fucking left. He's like, you know, again, it's like that, you know, in Shrew where it's like somebody call a policeman. Here's a policeman. You know,
But
I mean, it's
opposite.
funny.
It's great.
In a comedy, you can really like that's funny. You know, like you can really make the idea that time is so fast. You know.
Well, also from Speed's point of view, he's like, well, I have an excuse to not do that work, and I want to hang around with this guy and get tipped. And so I'm going to put my time into just like lingering around this schmo until he pays me. So no, I'm not going to run after the ship to help my master. I'm going to hang here and try and get my tip.
Yeah, and then yeah,
and
that's where we leave Proteus. Yeah. Stupid Proteus.
So then into more stupid people in scene 2. I like the fact that I'll pronounce it Lucetta since we're in Italy. Julia's asking her like, well, who should I fall in love with? And she's like, well, according to my shallow, simple skill.
Yeah.
And you're already like, all right, all the servants are smarter than the royals. Like, first of all, Julia's first line is like, who should I love?
Yeah. Yeah. I have lots to say about Julia.
Have at him.
Oh no, I'm just saying, like she is. A great modern equivalent would be almost any kind of Instagram star, or you know, she's so incredibly shallow from the very beginning. You know, just the idea of like, well, who should I love is such an infuriating question. Like you can't even piece that out for yourself. Like that's the thing. Like she's obviously like, wealthy and can't make decisions for herself, and this poor maid Lucetta she bears the brunt. And I love as you say, she's so Lucetta's so self-effacing, you know, that it's like like you tell right off the bat, like, this is not the first time we've gone down this road with this woman. You're like, oh, I'm a big dummy, so let me think.
And Julia's like listing off names, and Lucetta like rhymes an insult to each of them. She's like, "What about John?" She's like, "He's something rhymes with John." What's about Teddy? Something rhymes with Teddy. It's just like, it's just great between like this, just the chasm of talent between Julia and Lucetta. Their roles should be reversed. They're not, because all the roles are dunces on this. And then just to drive home how dumb Lucetta is, she's like, Proteus, but he never moved on me at all. It's just like, okay, but like, I don't know, like that was the first moment where I actually respected Proteus. Yes, he's probably an incel, but at least he's not one of these weirdos like constantly proposing to her. Like, I could give him some credit for that. Like there's a Venn diagram of like good guy who doesn't know how to talk to girls and incel, and there's a lot of purple in there.
Yeah.
That's the part that made me realize, like, oh, okay, Proteus could just be a good guy who like wants to be respectful or whatnot. But only in hearing it through Lucetta's mouth, not through Julia's mouth, not through fucking Proteus's mouth, to be sure.
Yeah, and I definitely think that Lucetta is hitting on something that I think is still true today. If it seems like it seems like the, like reflecting that kind of, not to shit on masculinity the same way I did in Shrew, but like that masculine need to just fucking talk all the time about it, like, hey, I love you, baby. Yeah, baby. Oh, come on, baby. Like that constant chatter of love. And Lucetta makes a good point. Like she says, in regarding to Proteus, she says, fire that's closest kept burns most of all. This idea is like, you don't have to have somebody come out and say things all the time. In fact, those who talk, as you said, those who are proposing every 50 seconds are probably not that into you anyway.
And what's more, sweet, just killed a mosquito. Oh, he got away.
Curses.
What's more, Julia is exactly the type of woman who's like, but isn't that what boys like? Don't boys push you in the mud when they like you? He hasn't pushed me in the mud. It's just like,
right.
Okay, but do you actually have any feeling for any of these people? Like it's like Bianca, where it's just like you're allowed to have an opinion. You don't have to ask your servants about which of these is better, and then be talked into it.
And like Bianca, she does share that sort of, she has to be guided. But what makes Julia, and this is where I have a lot to say about Julia, is that what makes Julia worse than Bianca is that she's like the perfect example of like Shakespeare's indictment on young love, which I read years ago, and I read it somewhere and I can't find it again. And everybody that I've talked to who likes Shakespeare tells me like, I didn't see that. But I read somewhere that there was a theory at one point. I thought this could be apocryphal, and I might have seen it in a dream. but there was a moment where I could have sworn I read a theory. There are a lot of disclaimers in there. That Romeo and Juliet was a comedy, was supposed to be a comedy and an indictment on the ridiculousness of young love. And like this reminded me of that because of how Julia is so crazy in that scene where she's biting Lucetta's head off, offended that she intercepted a letter and basically chews her out. She leaves. Then she's like, oh, why did I do that? But I'll call her back in. And then just proceeds to chew her out again. It's like, well, like she is that indictment of young love, the ridiculousness and like capriciousness of young love,
So one of the things I'd love to figure out as part of this is figuring out the degree to which their classification as comedies, tragedies, romances are things where like, did Shakespeare have like 4 rubber stamps? And he's like, this one's a history. This one, because
right.
The way we talked about Shrew, like Shrew as comedy does not work for you and me.
Right.
But did they group those ways? Did publishers group them those ways to put them into folios? Or did he actually feel like, nope, I gotta tell the folks out of the gate, Taming of the Shrew, a comedy.
A
or
comedy.
Did he feel like he could write it wherever he wanted to, and if if it landed one way with one audience and one director, that's fine. If it landed another way with another audience, that's fine. Because yes, Romeo and Juliet are morons, and I don't know. I could totally see them. I could totally see us finding a way to make that into a comedy because they're just idiots killing themselves.
Maybe he just wrote plays and whatever response he got, that's what he called it. You know,
Right.
like
Oh, cool. It's comedy. All right, cool.
well, people laughed.
Just to be clear, you people are messed up, but sure, comedy. Let's go with that.
You've got like Christopher
driven insane. Okay, cool.
Christopher Marlowe's like, they laughed at Shrew, and it's like, I know, it's weird.
Listen, it's my third play, man. I got to get paid, so gotta get these royalties, man.
No, that's a really good question, and I wonder, like the categorization of these plays is, I think, universal, but yeah, who made that decision? Who made that determination? Because some of them do like straddle the line, you know.
And also, it would I don't know. I just need to do more research, but I think they broadly fall in groups of the time he wrote them. So it's going to be exhausting for us to read 12 comedies. It must have been exhausting for him to just be like, here's another one where there's a letter, but someone doesn't read it until the fourth act. And oh my goodness.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe he mixed it up more than that. There is this one line here where, again, she's saying, but isn't this what girls do? Isn't this what boys do? She says, Julia says, Lucetta should have forced me to read it because I'm just a dumb damsel. And what damsels need to do is to be forced to know what to do. And and that's something that someone says in Act 3. I think it's Valentine. I'm not sure. But regardless, it's like, it's definitely a royal person. And it comes back again and again. Just like, yeah, you should have just told her what to do because she's a damsel. And damsels, they say no, but we know what no means.
Oh yeah, and after that line, I think I wrote in my notes. I wrote, "I hate her and wish her the least amount of luck." Like there's something about like, well, why didn't she force me to read the letter? It's like, fuck you.
So she said that to herself. Then she calls her back in, and she's such a useless upper class twit that she can't say why she called her back in, and so she just like stammers some stuff out. They get into another argument, which turns into 50 fucking lines of bird puns. And they get nowhere. She's just like, hey, what'd you do? What's that on the ground? It's like, it's the thing you just told me to throw on the ground. Well, why do you treat it such? Do you want to fucking it? No, what if I called you a bird? Then I'd call you a different type of bird. Oh, would you? Well, son of a...
And, you know what? And what I love about that like her little, like Julia's little breakdown with the letter is that she has some really great lines in there. Oh, hateful hands to tear such loving words. Like, I mean, you can really play it, you know, like she doesn't. Oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? But then she makes the words, the pieces kiss.
Yeah.
And because it's Shakespeare, you read it and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like visually, that's kind of cool. And then you realize that that's batshit insane.
No, the way to play this character is just batshit insane. Like the idea of, and again, it's great to see Lucetta just being like, oh no, this is the guy I'm going to hook her up with because they're both just morons. Like you don't want to pair a moron with someone who reads. Like two, you need to get together and you'll watch CSI together and it'll be great. Like you two are perfect for each other. So no, he's the one. Yeah,
I love the actually the letter, the pieces of the letter kissing reminded me of Spaceballs, where he's like, I didn't see you playing with your dolls again, sir. Good. you know, it's like, oh, Lone Star. Oh, like, oh, Dark Helmet.
And then one of those things, there was two things that both in the last scene, this scene, I liked just almost as like modern English. Like the first is like, there's just one line in the first scene where Valentine kicks off the like puns back and forth, and Proteus just says, "What?" That's his whole line.
Yeah.
Like, so he kicks off his stands up just like, well, if a sheep were a bird would not be a sheep. He just goes, "What?"
Yeah.
And then in scene 2, Lucetta just says, I see things too, though you judge, I wink, and it's just like, I'll be as stupid as you need me to be, but like I know what's going on. I know that you just had a panic attack and tore up the love letter that you want to read in front of me because you can't handle an intelligent servant. So like when you're ready to hear things, I'll tell you. But until then, you can keep pressing your little pieces of paper together and making them kiss because you're out of your goddamn mind.
Yeah, and that's the, Lucetta is probably, and Speed to some, well, maybe less Speed, but Lucetta is definitely my favorite so far, in this play. She's definitely the, I don't know if you've ever watched any of the Blackadder shows.
No, I haven't.
But she reminds me of, I think it's Blackadder the Second, which is, I think, Elizabethan England. If you don't know about Blackadder, it's like there's an iteration of this character who, through history, is put. Each season is a different time period in English history, and he finds himself. It's basically the same character, but it's almost like the generations, generations of the same guy, like his great grandfather, etc. And in Elizabethan times, the Queen Elizabeth is played by, this is going to drive me nuts. She was the villain in Sleepy Hollow, the Tim Burton Sleepy Hollow. Now I can't remember her name. That's driving me. That's a crime that I can't remember her name. Anyway, she plays Queen Elizabeth, but she has a maid, a nursey, who's kind of a heavy-set older woman, and she reminds me of Lucetta. Like, she plays at being kind of crazy and stupid, but she's got way more understanding of how all this works than anybody else does. She's a little more loopy than Lucetta, but she's definitely like Lucetta is definitely kind of like a blueprint for what that character would become eventually.
Yeah, Lucetta seems like. So, one other detail that I liked about Speed is that you learn in this act when you realize that Lucetta got the note from him is that Speed also didn't tell Valentine, or didn't tell Proteus just because he never met the woman he was supposed to talk to. And so he just bluffed his way through it. And he's just like, she didn't pay me, so I'm not telling you anything. But in fact, he took a shortcut, didn't give the note to the woman, but is just bluffing his way through with Proteus. So whereas with Speed, I respect the fact that he's just like bullshitting his way through his conversation with royalty to get his money. Lucetta, like, feel like she has like an actual fierce intellect and is like just like she's actually solving. Like Speed, I'm impressed with the way he actually gets what he wants, which is money out of this guy. And Lucetta, I'm impressed with the fact that she's just like, it's actually, you asked me for advice, and so now I've done everything I can to walk you through to the right decision, but you're going to fuck this up. And literally this play would be one act long. If you would read this and reply yes, then we
read the letter. Yeah, it's true.
Well,
now I sound like John Oliver. It's true.
So the only thing left in the third scene is that I feel like when Proteus walks in, he's saying that he did get that letter back that he gets a letter that says "I love you too."
He's reading a letter.
Is that what you get? That like he's like got the letter he wants, but he's just too chicken shit to tell his dad that.
No, I thought. Because he says something towards the end of the scene where he's like, I didn't want my father to see my profession of love to this person. I thought he wrote that letter and was going over it. I didn't think Julia wrote him back.
Yeah, well, I think it could go either way. It could be his 9th mixtape, but he says, "Here is her hand." And so I think he got a letter back.
Oh, yeah, maybe she did get it. Here is her hand, like she signed it, or like this is her handwriting.
She's even done that, but he's just too cowards. He says a small lie to his dad, and since he said a small lie, he just like, well, I guess I'll get on a boat because I'm not going to tell you why I'm staying here. Like it's.
Yeah, again, that Shakespearean timing too, where Antonio's like, or again, Panthino, by the way. as soon as I read Panthino, I was like, Thundercats are on the move. Thundercats are loose.
He should have suspenders with spikes on them. Like, and he should be voiced by that wonderful actor. It should be like
Antonio. Yeah, the Bill Cosby's dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, he should have nunchucks with cat claws on them.
Well, your uncle.
How great would that be? Pantino just had blue suspenders and Spock ears.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Two gentlemen of Thundera.
Thundera. I would pay good money to see that. I would be first in line.
Does the joke land places? No, it lands in half a scene with one character, but it's worth it to see two gentlemen from Thundera.
Yeah, but like as soon as I saw it, but like I love the idea that Panthino's like, well, everybody's, your brother is talking about your incel son, and Antonio's like, I know, believe me, I know it.
He's like, what were you guys talking about? We're talking how much your son sucks. Man, does he?
Yeah,
like that is one of the things that comes up again and again in these. Well, I guess I can't say again and again since it's twice in two plays, but just
but Baptista, same thing. Like, yeah, I know.
Like, oh, yeah. Whew, let's get in there because I did not raise that kid well.
If there's one thing that I think Shakespeare has nailed so far is like royal parents really do suck a big one.
Also, royal parents being like, I know what the solution here is. Not to parent. I'm going to put him on a boat where classy people are supposed to live, I hear, and then he'll come back all smart and shit.
Yeah.
I think it'll work. So half the time these plays, ships run aground at sea and people die or are estranged for 40 years. But no, I'm just going to put my kid on a boat.
Yeah, and again, that timing of it, it's like, well, somebody is shipping out to talk to the emperor tomorrow, and it's like, well, fair enough. It's like the speed. Like I love and this is where like maybe we should have called this podcast "Rewriting Shakespeare" because I was like
I have a few notes.
I do. I would have done it a little different. I would have done it a little differently, Willie. But I would have like at the end of Act 1. I would have had one boat leaving for Verona. No, I'm sorry, we're in Verona to Milan. Right? He's going to Milan?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Like Valentine's going Verona. Like that's the end of Act 1 is the boat leaving. And Valentine is ready to go. He leaves for a little bit. Proteus is doing his thing. And then by pure like pressure from his dad, then he ends up on the same boat and they're off together, on the first on that, you know what I mean? Like rather than have like multiple ships and stuff like that, I think there's a way to make the like symbolically the boat leaving as like the kind of that's the driving force of the whole first act. And I just thought it would bring it all together a little more neatly,
I'd say that, or since they're the only two people that can get anything done, like don't have the driving force of the action be something stupid Proteus spits out in a spare second. Have either Speed or Lucetta maneuver him onto the boat.
Yeah.
Or maneuver Julia onto the boat. Like if it was all something for Speed to get an extra pound, then that'd be great. If it was Lucetta just being like, oh no, the boat is, this is called the Boat of Love. And if you ride it, you're full of love.
He would totally buy that too.
I'd be like, really? Whoa.
No, I think that would be awesome if Lucetta had more of a subversive role, in that. She's clearly pulling for Proteus. What if she's, again, like I'm going off of instinct, but like, it'd be great if Lucetta actually wrote the letter.
Well, and in seeing these two servants like be the most interesting characters on screen, like it made me want to go back and watch Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which I haven't in 20 years, because I think I bet this will be the consistent theme that like, oh, those people seem more interesting. They're never actually going to like move the plot the way they should, and both to like see the camera focus on them for a while, but also the fact that in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, like they are at the mercy of whatever powerful people do throughout. Like they're interesting, but still like they're just going to get their heads cut off because Hamlet put a note in or switch some notes or something. And that's just like, they are the smarter people. They are the more interesting people. It does not matter. Like they they will meet whatever end they're supposed to meet. And I don't know, it just like, since that's where my brain goes already, it was like, oh gosh, I'd like to if like what we'd like to see out of this scene is the servants take more control, then like it made me think like, oh, I'd like to just see something where there was less of this jabbering about birds and sheep and more just servants being like, fuck you, pay me, or fuck you, just marry the guy. Just
what a great name for a play, like a Lucetta and Speed. It's a dope ass name for for a play. Lucetta and Speed make a porno? What?
It all comes back to Keanu. Keanu is on a bus.
They're on a boat that can't go below. They're on a boat to Milan.
Like, that's the boat of love. It can't go above 50 knots or else it explodes. You should get on. Really? Yes, Keanu. You should get on. Whoa.
Lucetta and Speed. That would be a great. And they go around Verona like they're like a matchmaking couple.
Yes.
But Speed does all like the dirty work. It's kind of like the Scarecrow and Mrs. King or something like that.
A timely reference.
Yeah. I couldn't think of I was also what's the other one? The other duo TV show that always
Hardcastle McCormick.
Hardcastle McCormick, Jake and the Fat Man.
I'm assuming there's two people, one named Hart, one named Hart, and Heart to Heart.
Yeah, Heart to Heart. All those things. I think Jake and the Fat Man's probably the closest analogy. But like the idea of like Speed does all the dirty work and Lucetta's kind of the brains behind the operation.
No, it would work wonderfully. Speed's making money the whole time. Lucetta's just like working these two against each other.
Lucetta and Speed.
Speed.
You have an older lady. It's kind of got like a Harold and Maude feel to it. You know?
Oh, that's interesting. I was thinking Lucetta young and attractive, but you could go either way.
Oh, interesting. And then Speed's kind of like.
Have you watched The Great on Hulu?
No.
It's based on it's like In the Loop or The Death of Stalin. It's like historical, but done with like people talking in fast modern ways, and it's about Alexander the Great's son and how Catherine the Great married him and then became Catherine the Great once he died.
Okay.
But it's amazingly well done. But on the show, the actors are all great, but the woman who attends to Catherine is like my favorite part of the show. So Lucetta reminded me of her because it's just like, oh, you would know how the palace works and everything and whatnot, but you have no path toward power. You just advise the protagonist on how to make choices.
That sounds good. I love a supporting character who you really want to see. You know, it's more and more like the supporting characters really make a show. My wife and I are watching Schitt's Creek, and I think some of the peripheral characters are some of my favorites. You know, like I like people who I really want to see in an episode, and I'm so delighted when I see them because I think they're the ones who are keeping this ship afloat.
I will say I saw like 6 or 7 episodes of Schitt's Creek. They're all wonderful. It's one of those times where you don't know why I stopped watching it. But speaking of attractive secondary characters, the woman who like runs a motel and is just like Hollywood gorgeous. You're just like, no, like
Stevie, the Stevie character. Yeah.
I know you could get pulled over. It's funny that she has a man's name because it's like Doc Hollywood. It's just like, oh yeah, no, this is if you're gonna meet a random woman in a tiny ass town running a motel, this is undoubtedly what that's how reality works.
Yeah, she definitely if you continue watching it, which I highly recommend, like her arc definitely gets better and is more interesting. Like it's like the show is a lot more nuanced than I was expecting from the first few episodes, so it's very, very good.
I've heard that the finale absolutely wrecks people, which
I'm so not looking forward to seeing it go. We're already on the last available stuff on Netflix, so we have to wait. I think until October or something.
The other thing that shocked me is I've never seen Eugene Levy not mugging. Like,
yeah,
like I just buy him as like a stressed out executive trying to deal with things. Like, and that's not what I expected at all.
Yeah, in fact, I was thinking about that just 2 days ago. We were watching an episode, and I was thinking like Eugene Levy is like a solid dramatic actor in this. He's the straight man in this show.
It's just it took me like 5 episodes to realize like he's not gonna He's not going to be like he is in Christopher Guest. He's not going to be like he was in that John Candy Cops movie where they were the assless chaps. Like neither of those Eugene Levy paths that I'm so familiar with.
Yeah, no, I mean, but he does bring the pathos. Like, I think about Mighty Wind, the pathos in that relationship. Like the between he and Catherine O'Hara in that movie, like that kind of the heaviness. Like he brings that a lot in this show, and it's still great. Like he doesn't. It's just nice to see him as kind of like the elder statesman taking a step back and kind of letting everyone else be funny.
No, I was, yeah, especially since it's his son to like not to put on the like funny guy hat, but just to like get out of the way of his son. It's impressive. Yeah,
and not to say that he's got hilarious moments, but he underplays almost every single one of them, which is amazing. Like that's the mark of a true, like somebody who's willing to adapt, Like he's not trying to like the old Eugene Levy, he's not trying to. That sounded more like Seinfeld. All I can think of is him in Splash. She's a mermaid. A mermaid. That's what each episode is going to descend into, is just cinema references.
Yes, no.
Cinema.
That should always be the signal that we said enough about an act to be start talking about major and minor works, the 80s and 90s.
But you kind of have to. You kind of have to in the Shakespeare comedies, because so many of these tropes are played out, over and over and over again. Like, just thinking about Julia, she could be, in the cast of Mean Girls. She could be one of the characters of Mean Girls, or in Legally Blonde, or something where that requires a kind of vacuous.
Like if she was a Mean Girl or a Heather, like which one would she be? Is she like the too dumb to walk one? Is she is she like the main Heather? Is the main Heather's name not Heather? I think it is. I think the main. I think the Queen Bee has a name, and then everyone else is named Heather.
I have a shocking confession. I've never seen Heather's.
Oh, dude, you have.
I know.
To.
I know.
Also,
I keep
it's
hearing
wonderful because it's frozen in amber. Because you can't make a great movie about school shootings anymore. For some reason, it just doesn't land the same way.
It doesn't have the same resonance. It doesn't have the same connotation,
or just too much resonance.
But yeah, by the way, before we sign off, it was Miranda Richardson is the name of the actress. Who
I still can't think who that is. Oh, is she?
Yeah, she was in Blackadder. And
no,
what's that? She did a few Tim Burton. I want to say that she was in Sleepy Hollow.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But you'll occasionally see her around. She's been working for decades.
She's the god-awful reporter in Harry Potter.
Is she? Is she in Harry Potter?
She's the woman that my wife hates the most in Harry Potter.
Well, there are some examples of her being really great in other parts.
It's funny. I can't imagine her young at all.
She's very young in the second season of Blackadder. She looks like she's supposed to be in her 30s, but she looks like she's in her early 20s. Like she plays it very young. She plays Queen Elizabeth as almost a baby, like baby doll.
A baby.
Yeah. Queen Elizabeth is, as a baby. But yeah.
All right. Now
Miranda Richardson, check her out.
Oh, Miranda Richardson is one of my favorite to have played me. And I've had Cate Blanchett, Judi Dench, and Helen Mirren play me as well. Just a laundry list of bad bitches. Fat and Greasy Citizens is presented by the players Chuck and Gabe. Theme song is A Robust Crew by Darren Curtis. Next week, 2 Gentlemen of Verona, Act 2. And for me, 2 cases of Corona.